Greetings, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Why I Love Disney podcast. We are so excited to be with you guys today. This is our first recording in 2022. I think we said it before, but Happy New Year to all of you listening. David, JD, Happy New Year to you guys. How are you doing?
Great, Justin. How are you? Happy New Year.
So good, so good. Happy to be back here in Florida, ready to start this new year. I'm pumped.
Yeah, so you're not on the same screen.
Yeah, different screen.
I don't have my partner squeezed in here again.
Yeah, I can already tell y'all got to get used to not being in the same room because you're talking. We're all talking over each other because there's three squares now instead of two.
Yeah,
that's right. Getting back in the swing of things.
Yeah, awesome. You back in class, JD? Or
what's up?
Our classes started back. You're back in class.
Yeah, so just started my classes back yesterday. Had a class this morning. Trying to get in that routine, man. It's hard when you have a whole month of eating food and hanging out and getting back in that swing of thing. It comes fast, but I'm loving it. I love the school where I'm at in South Florida, so I'm happy to be with my buddies again.
That's cool. And any trips to Disney World? You already been 3 times since you've been back?
Disappointingly, no, not quite yet. We're going to try and squeeze it in this first week, but it hadn't happened. So surely in the near future, we're trying to make the most of this annual pass, seeing how many times we can go. But I'm sure we'll get a trip planned pretty soon.
David, things back to normal for you?
Well, the house is completely quiet. With all 3 of the kids are gone now, and so yeah, it's kind of back to normal. I've got to figure out how to get to Florida myself, just so I can catch up with this guy in maybe at least a month.
I hear you, man.
Okay.
It's been a good. We had a big giant snow where I live. We had like 8 or 9 inches of snow, and it's all melted away now. But we had a couple of days of no school and sledding and snowman building and all kinds of fun activities, which also got us into some Disney Plus stuff, which I'm sure we'll talk about here in a minute. Have you guys seen or watched anything since our last time together that have been interesting, Disney wise or otherwise?
Well,
I've seen. Yeah, you go on. No, you got it.
I was going to say our family watched Encanto again as a family. I had seen it, but we watched it as a family, and that was something to watch. And also, it's not Disney, but it's kind of Disney related because it's parks related. We watched the Harry Potter reunion special that was on HBO Max. That was very nostalgic for our family.
That's super cool. Same with you, JD. I'm sure you were in the Encanto group that watched that.
Yes.
Anything else?
Yeah, watched Encanto. Enjoyed it. Actually rewatched Shang-Chi this week.
Okay.
Which I really enjoyed. You know, I was doing school, been doing a little studying, creating my schedule, and I kind of had it on the background. But rewatched it for the most part, and definitely almost liked it more than the first time I watched it. So I'd really encourage you guys to watch it again. But as long with that, also did first 2 episodes of Boba Fett, which we can talk about that more in detail. But trying to get into that, get back into that Mandalorian mindset of the Star Wars galaxy. It's been fun.
Yeah, same here. So we watched Boba Fett too. We watched both the episodes. I think there's another one out tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh wow!
Super excited. They come out on Wednesdays, right? So what did you think? What's your take on Boba Fett so far?
So I like it. I like it because I'm a big fan of Star Wars. Now, putting it up against The Mandalorian, I think I still prefer The Mandalorian. I feel like, honestly, these first 2 episodes are more like setting up for like big picture stuff. I like the callbacks. I like the whole, he's kind of like starting his empire. I like it. It's a very interesting take on some characters like the Sand Dune guys. I like it. Don't love it yet. That would probably be my summary.
Okay, fair enough. David,
what would you say?
You caught up on Boba Fett?
I have not.
Or we just spoil it for you.
We were going to wait till we had a few more episodes just to watch more, but we are going to watch it. I'm excited to watch it.
Awesome.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, we've been loving it. I agree. I think it's ramping up, but I've really found it interesting. Kind of, they're giving you. We already know this character. We're familiar with this character, so they're giving us backstory. And there's a lot of holes to fill in. With the Mandalorian, we knew nothing, and they could have had a clean blank slate to work from. Here, we have to figure out. Okay, how did he? We saw him die in Return of the Jedi. We thought, what happened? How did he get? How is he here? he's already been in The Mandalorian, so we know he's alive. We know he survived. So how do we connect these dots? And I think they're trying to do that. But I really have loved the Sand People angle. It's the first time they've kind of explored that culture. Never seen that before in Star Wars. I think some of the comic books and some of the books have kind of been down that world. That's really cool. And but don't want to spoil too much for David, but I'm really enjoying it so far. Some characters making some old familiar places, which I think Star Wars fans like. We like that it takes place in Tatooine, Mos Eisley, some of the cantinas and the Jabba the Hutts and some of the familiar characters and stories that we're familiar with. It moves into that and kind of explores that area. I love it. We're having fun. We also watched Encanto as a family, and actually twice, because my kids loved it so much. I mean, not only that, their bedtime music, Encanto soundtrack, they love the soundtrack over and over and over. All I got is Bruno, no, no, no.
Yeah.
I just started singing Bruno, no, no. That one and the one about the pressure.
Yes.
That's all I got in my head all the time.
Yeah.
It's so catchy. Such great writing, in my opinion.
Did you watch? Like I said, did you turn on the subtitles?
We did. Yeah, we did. I watched it once with and once without.
Right.
And yeah, you do catch more of the especially the lyrics of the songs.
Right, especially when they're in Spanish,
because it goes by so fast. Yep.
There's a lot.
Absolutely.
There's a lot more in Spanish than you realize. When I saw it the first time, I didn't realize how much was actually in Spanish until I watched it with the subtitles. And I was like, "Wow, I'm glad I've got this now," because those were great lyrics that I just didn't even know what they were singing. So it was really, really cool.
Sure. I thought, yeah, and you guys told, David, you saw it first, and you said it was good. Y'all need to watch this. But dude, I really thought afterwards, man, this is super underrated. I haven't seen enough about this.
Right.
I haven't there should be toys, and there should be my kids should, and judging by my kids' reaction, I think this will have some staying power and some rewatchability. Yeah, for sure.
I think it has a lot to do. I think it has a lot to do with expectations because, again, like I've told you guys, when I watched the preview, I wasn't super excited for Encanto at first, but after watching the movie, I love it, and I would put it up next to any of these other modern Disney movies. So I think, I don't know if that was like a Hawkeye. We've talked about with Hawkeye. Not a lot of people talked about it, and then when we watched it, we loved it because we didn't really have a huge expectation of it. So I don't know if it was something like that or if it was unintentional, but I would agree 100%. It wasn't even really on my radar, and after watching it, I really liked it too.
Well, in true Disney form, the animation was beautiful.
Incredible.
It was just beautiful. The story was I thought unique and something that I hadn't quite seen before. I love the cultural aspect and what they're doing there. I love the personality of the house and kind of that Disney inanimate object has a personality, whether it's Beauty and the Beast and candlesticks and just there's all sorts of magical things happening, like pumpkins that turn into carriages, those sorts of things, and it kind of echoes into the classic Disney in that realm and storytelling. And then the soundtrack is incredible, and when you hear Lin-Manuel Miranda is doing it, you can either be excited about that or you can be skeptical and kind of raise an eyebrow like I'm not so sure. I liked Hamilton, but is this going to work in a Disney movie? And man, he crushed it. It was great. It's a little, and it's modern, like it definitely is of the times too. So I love that it kind of crossed over and touched into Disney's past and kind of the great elements of Disney storytelling in the past, and had these very modern elements too. Of storytelling that I think definitely connected with my kids. I absolutely love it.
That's really interesting to hear that your guys liked it so much with their age group. I was wondering if there would be too much music because it's very Broadway in the sense that I think every character has a solo at some point. Everybody sings. There's just this. It's a very ensemble Broadway type piece that I can't think of anything quite like it that they've actually done. There's way more music to me than there was in Moana. It's similar, but it's just different. Go ahead, JD.
Yeah, I'm just piggybacking off of that, but I think the reason why people still enjoy the music because it's like storytelling through that music. It's like you see like Frozen and some of the songs are there, like it's kind of telling a story, but it's also kind of like, okay, this is just a fun, catchy song. And Canto, in the same way, Hamilton does it, they might go on this 5-minute song, but you're learning about this character, you're learning about how they feel, you're learning about like how they're going to react to the main characters and stuff like that. So I think that might be why there's more of a people enjoy listening to the music, even though if they typically wouldn't enjoy more musicals. But a funny thing about all the musicals, me and my wife, we were looking at Spotify. We both subscribe to Spotify. And we were looking at United States top 50 songs. Every once in a while we'll look at it. And We Don't Talk About Bruno was literally number 1 like last week. And we were like, what? Like, how does it have this much, power and influence? So we were like jamming it to the car and number 1 on, US top 50.
Oh, the track's amazing. Amazing.
That song especially sounds like Hamilton. To me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, that's the thing.
Not every song
like
does.
Hamilton.
Not every song felt.
No, you're right.
But that's what it was like to me. It was like if Hamilton and Moana and Coco all came together. That's what you kind of get. It's a little bit of.
Yeah, that's a great. I love that.
Yeah.
Coco, Hamilton, and Moana all had a baby.
Yeah.
Then you get this. You get this one right here, which is great. All those are great, iconic pieces. And again, like in Hamilton, the songs are how they tell the story. Right. There's not even hardly any dialogue without songs. And the songs are integral to the story. In this movie. So yeah, I loved it. Can't wait to see it again. And I'm going to be hearing these songs for a long time. And I'm not sick of them yet. Maybe I will be at some point, but not yet. Mm-hmm. But any other thoughts on that? Is he going to be doing any other soundtracks of music in the Disney movies in the future? Because he should.
I believe he's working on the new Little Mermaid, the live action Little Mermaid. I think.
Oh wow!
I think he was the one with Alan Menken.
That could be fun.
Yeah,
that's smart too, because that gets me excited to see it. All the most live actions, like we said, it's kind of the new Disney stuff. Probably all of our least favorites. Not that they're terrible; they just are what they are, right? And but little things like that make me curious, right?
Yeah, I think that's the one. I know he's working on something. I probably should fact check that, but I believe that's the one he's watching next. he's working on next.
Well, the snow days, we've watched tons and tons of Disney Plus. I think we've rewatched. I don't even know how many Marvel things we've rewatched. We watched the 616 show where they show like stories and cosplay people, and the documentary on that. That's kind of cool. And they've rewatched all the Spider-Man. All the Spider-Man. Actually, my oldest has been watching the Spider-Man cartoons over again, like just binge watching them. They are kind of all Spider-Man'd out right now. And then they even watched Venom and Let There Be Carnage, which are not Disney movies. Those are Sony, but they hadn't seen those yet and had. And those are a little more, a little rougher, but they were both. I'd
cool.
never seen them before either, and they were entertaining, very entertaining. I'm surprised I hadn't seen them yet. So
that's cool.
Lots of television watching in our household.
That's fun. Those animated Spider-Mans on Disney Plus. It's funny you said that, because literally yesterday I was when I was watching Shang-Chi, I was kind of scrolling through and I saw those, and I was like, man, would I love just to have a week of nothing to do and I could just play this right here and just get all the nostalgia and watch all of them. So that's fun. Y'all got the chance to watch those with the snow days.
Well, I'll give you this too, and this is probably a little too much, a little more information everyone with. But in those cartoons, there are story points from these movies, like there's a multiverse thing where Thor opens the gate and they go on this hunt, and somehow he gets transformed into Peter Porker, into a pig version of Peter Parker, which happens in Into the Spider-Verse, and then the whole multiverse stuff is brought up in a different context, and some of the characters and some of the storylines, they're not exact, but you can see where they're borrowing from comics and other stories that have been told to tell these new MCU stories, and that's pretty fascinating too. So, John David, you do have a chance. They're really good and very interesting. So check those out.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, I just checked the facts on this, and that is correct. He's working on. He's one of the producers of the live action Little Mermaid, and he's also written new songs.
Have they released one that's coming out? Is that 2022 or 2023?
I haven't seen it on the list for 2022, so I'm not sure.
Gotcha.
I'm really not sure. We'll have to look that up too.
Yeah, that's one that they've talked about a lot, but haven't really given a lot of information about like release dates.
I hope it's good.
It was supposed to start filming in 2020, but it got delayed because of COVID. So it says they started filming again. They resumed filming in July of 2021. So it'll take a while. If that'll have to have a lot of special effects, live action, underwater.
Oh, yeah. But the good news is, if he knew he was working on it, writing songs,
he might have written like
teams, so
two
maybe
or
he
three
had more
more
time to refine them. Boom, you got it.
Yeah, we need to place bets if we think that's going to come out first or Tron's going to be open to Magic Kingdom.
That's great. Take that. What do you think? Let's put us on record right now. Is Tron coming out first or opening first, or is Little Mermaid going to be released first?
Gosh, I hope Tron. Honestly, I hope Tron comes out first because I really want to ride it.
But it's not what you hope. It's what you got to go on record
I'll say
as a
Tron.
Disney expert. Your Tron's going to open first. All right.
Yes, these past couple of times we've gone to the parks. We ride the People Mover, and you can kind of see it. And it looks the good positive things is there's definitely improvements every time we go, even if they might not be these huge improvements. So I'd probably go with Tron.
I just found out the release date scheduled for Little Mermaid is May 26, 23. So, May 26 of 2023, not 26, 23, but 2023 May. So, so I hope Tron. I hope Tron is first. But I think they're just holding Tron, and I really wish that they would get it done earlier. I'd like to see them open it by the end of 2022, personally. But
that's only a window of 16 months.
I want to say this because last week we did a look back, and after we got out of that conversation, I asked John David, was I too negative? Because I felt.
Are we doing a retraction here? What are we retracting?
I'm not
David?
retracting, but I this week in preparing for what we were going to talk about today, I went back and thought, we in a difficult year, they had Remy's Ratatouille Adventure open. They had two great restaurants, Space 220 and that Steakhouse 71 open. Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular started back up again. They did two new fireworks shows, which weren't not necessarily my favorite that they've ever done, but I mean they really did a lot. And so this year we've got like two things on the list that are coming, and one's a hotel experience, and one's an attraction. So I would really like to see Tron open up, but I suppose that anytime I go back, if you make it to the parks every year or two and you go back and there's something new, that's better than nothing. But I hope Tron will for their publicity, publicity's sake, they need to open Tron so that people online will stop talking about it. Just get it open.
So it's clear everyone listening, this man loves Disney. He does not think of Disney in any negative way.
Oh no, hold on.
It's all
I
clear
think there's
now.
a different tone. Did you get a strongly worded email or something like that? No. John David and I were texting last week. What's Grumpy David up to? Why is he so angry today?
Well, actually, I'm not. Actually, I thought about all that because I heard somebody else talk about in a podcast I was listening to. They kept using the word, I'm so confused, and that's actually what I'm not. I wasn't angry as much as so much of the publicity this past year has just been like, I'm so confused. Like, why would you say that? Why would you do that? Why would you? It's just a lot of we love our fans, but.
Sure. I'm not angry. Why would you think I'm angry? I'm not angry at all.
No. I mean, I'm frustrated with some things, but mostly confused. It's like. I don't understand. We talked right before this started. I haven't been going. I can't believe Apple, and I can't believe McDonald's. I mean, none of that this past year. But I heard a lot of media about I can't believe Disney, and that I think they're too big for that. I think they ought to be able to handle their.
You love it so much. You care so much. That's what it is.
No, I want to get what I paid for.
Well, that's what 2022. Hopefully, this turnaround, Bob Chapek, he's out of his freshman year of being CEO. second year of all this crazy pandemic stuff, or I guess third year, but I mean, hopefully this year will be better, right? I mean, that's David, what we're talking about.
Yeah, you're not off the pulse, and we have there's lots of news in the past week. Yeah. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up was there's a USA Today article today that just asked the question: is Disney losing its magic?
Right.
And I've tried, just full disclosure, I haven't read the article because it's behind a paywall. And I'm trying to figure out how to get around that paywall, and as soon as I do, I'll talk more in depth about what they see. But just the headline itself and the thrust of the article seems to touch on the sentiment of Disney fans that are frustrated about mostly park stuff. Because I don't think anybody can look at Disney as a company and say, okay, the Disney Plus stuff has been incredible. Their content creation is killing it in every way, right? And then the park stuff, has been a little lackluster in the middle of a global pandemic. So I think, David, I don't think you're too far off base in voicing some of the frustration of Disney fans that we've heard, from people who go to the parks and people who have seen and continued rising prices and that kind of stuff.
Well, this past week. There's an experience that you can do in Galaxy's Edge where you can build a lightsaber. It costs, I think the exact price is like $219.99, just a penny shy of $220. And when you build your lightsaber, you get a special sleeve that it goes in, and this past week, they switched it to a plastic bag that looks like something you would put a wet umbrella in, but they didn't change the price. In fact, then they were encouraging you to buy apparently something that you could pay for on top of what you've already paid for. And again, it's not about what it's that it goes out to the media. And like when I start hearing about it, it's because of all these media outlets that are not Disney related going, Disney's done this, Disney, sticking it to their fans again. And that actually messes up my experience. Because when I do go, I don't want to be thinking about, are they sticking it to me? And when they raise the prices like they did this week on food, unless you're a local and you eat there all the time, you're not going to miss that a pretzel went up 30 cents. But when you hear it in the news and they're not controlling their media and the way I think they should, so that when I go, I don't want to be thinking about that.
Yeah, and it's all about balance too. I mean, the thing is, if you heard articles go back and forth of Disney's cutting costs and they're making it more affordable, and it paired with these we're taking away the sheath that goes with the lightsaber, then it would be more balanced. But the thing is, we're hearing like news like that, and then again you hear like the Dole Whip has just increased by $1 and stuff like that, and you just keep hearing it. I mean, like you said, that it will affect your kind of experience if you're always watching those things. And a big market of the Disney fans, and probably some of the most vocal, are the locals. Are the people who are living in that Florida radius. Some of the biggest fans. So when you increase their Dole Whip to $1, and every time they go, it's just another $1, it can have a negative effect on a company's
Well, we just
reputation.
live in a different world.
There's more prices.
We live in a different world than we did even 5 years ago. There's so much media now on every little price change that, I mean, it's hard not to hear it, even if you don't want to listen to it. I mean, if you follow anything with Disney, you're gonna hear it. It's gonna pop up. So,
yeah, I do think for 2022, I always want to I'm going to put the grumpy face on you guys and your boxes on the YouTube video just for right now, and I'm going to just remind you that there's a global pandemic, there's a supply chain shortage, there's a crazy inflation, and I don't think it's necessarily due to corporate greed. I do think there's expectations of shareholders, and they're trying to figure out how to this is going to sound stupid, how to make profits when they're seemingly making money hand over fist. I get it, but the reason it exists, ultimately, and maybe it's getting too big, is for shareholder maximize shareholder wealth, and that's not, I don't know, necessarily. There's different ways to go about that, but I think it's interesting. Another piece of news that came out in the last 24 hours was Bob Chapek actually had his big announcement and put out his 3 pillars kind of a vision statement for 2022 of what he's going to be focused on. Have you guys? Are you familiar with this at all?
I've heard about it, but I've not seen the whole thing.
Well, let me give you his 3 pillars. All right, he had a big he released a letter and it's reported in the Hollywood Reporter, Variety, all over the news medias that just kind of have different takes on this. But I'm reading from his actual letter. The first thing, his first pillar is the storytelling excellence. He says, I'm quoting from his letter. What makes Disney so unique is that the stories we tell mean something to people. They inspire, give hope, bring us together, illuminate the world around us, and create memories. That is Disney magic. We must continue to set the creative bar higher and higher to that end. And in addition to all my other creative meetings, I am establishing a new standing monthly meeting with our senior creative leaders to discuss the opportunities we face as a storytelling enterprise. This will encourage collaboration, sharing of best practices, and stimulate cross-studio ideation. What do you think about that?
I think it's great.
First pillar.
I think it's great. I mean, that's exactly what I want to hear. I mean, we've always talked about how we want Imagineers and that creative department to have more of an influence. And to start with that, I mean, it gives me such of a hope and an excitement to see what they're going to bring in this next year. For sure.
Did he say Imagineers?
See, Grumpy David. What's it?
No, I think that's so positive. And hey, I could go back to our original episode when the announcement had gone out that he was going to be in charge, and already media was, the local media was grumbling then. And I was like, I mean, surely he wouldn't be getting this job if he didn't love this and have something. So I try to stay positive all the way through. So,
well, I actually agree with you, David. Actually, I'm teasing, but it does say senior creative leaders. For all we know, that could mean the head guys at Disney Plus or Marvel or Star Wars or Lucas. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily mean Imagineers. I would assume there's going to be representation of all of them, because that would just be more of the same, right? Yeah. And that would probably lead to more problems. He actually says it will encourage collaboration, sharing of best practices, and stimulate cross-studio ideation. So I imagine there's representation from Pixar, Marvel, Imagineers, from people who do all these things. That's what I read into this, and I hope that's what it means.
Because you have to remember that. I mean, the Walt Disney Company is not just the parks. I mean, there's so many different aspects, especially now with Disney Plus. So you have to remember, I mean, he can't say exactly Imagineers, but I think it would be fair when he says top, creative development leaders, that Imagineers would be in that. I mean, if they're not in that conversation, then that is a little deceptive. I mean, I think it would be totally fair to say Imagineers would be in that circle.
Totally. Well, number 2, the second pillar is, and it kind of piggybacks on the first one, but it's innovation. I'm going to read what he wrote. Since Steamboat Willie, we have been the world's foremost innovative storytellers. That must continue as technology evolves, giving our creative teams new canvases, like the metaverse, on which to paint. We should be especially innovative as we seek to bring stories to life in new ways, particularly if they enhance what many call our franchise, quote, franchise ecosystem, which is one of the things that sets us apart. What do you think about the second pillar being innovation?
I think it sounds great.
I mean, I would... Yeah, I think it sounds great. I think it's, if you're going to make a pillar about what the Walt Disney Company is, when you look at the parks, when you look at movies, when you look at Rise of Resistance at Hollywood Studios, that's a pillar of innovation. And I have never heard of any other amusement park or organization doing anything like a mixture of a show, ride, immersive, production like Rise of Resistance. And that's just this, decades innovation for ride. I think
what was
that's
the first word again?
Yeah,
before innovation. Before innovation.
I just said it's second. Like first, storytelling excellence. Second,
storytelling. Okay.
The first pillar.
Yeah, storytelling excellence was the first one.
Oh, cool.
Gotcha.
And then innovation was the second one. And actually, as I read that, that could mean a lot of things. But the idea that he actually mentions the metaverse out loud, which is kind of almost a buzzword these days, that you can almost roll your eyes and everything from Facebook changing their name to Meta, but it might be in a hype cycle right now. But the idea that the next iteration of entertainment is merging virtual worlds and real worlds, and creating new ways for the consumer to interact with characters, with stories, and to be part of the story. Those are things that can change the game. And there's already things that are being changed. Kids are now on Roblox and they're on Minecraft where they can create their worlds. They don't want the world you created for them. They want to break it apart like Legos and build their own thing, right? And kind of the metaverse allows this kind of idea. We talked about NFTs a little bit a few weeks ago. This idea that they can now track and do some of these things where they can imagine going into Tomorrowland, and they know you're there, and they airdrop you some item to your phone, right? And you have this item, and this item allows you special access or to get this exclusive item, or they know you've been in the park 10 times in the last month, and you've gone to Jungle Cruise. Maybe you're the top rider of Jungle Cruise, and they know that, so they can, like, in the metaverse, create a new experience for you that's slightly different every time you go on a certain ride. I mean, the amount of collectibles. When I start talking about this, I could talk for 3 hours about the possibilities that could happen because of innovation in Web3.
We need to sign you up for a job. I hope they have that vision. I hope they have that vision. I definitely think that is that's what I expect. That's what I expect from this company. I want them to be the leader, and with Universal and so many other parks gaining ground, I want to see Disney always be the leader. I do.
Disney has the resources to do it. Go ahead, JD.
I was just going to say, to add on to that, another aspect is, like, we talked about innovation, and Disney's big, form of innovation has always been immersion. And when you look at the whole metaverse, and, Dustin, we've talked about the Oculus and stuff like that, there's nothing that can immerse you more than when you put a headset goggles on, and it literally, you look to your left and your right, up and down, and it looks like you're in a whole different environment. I mean, I can't see, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, this is literally perfect for Disney because this is everything they want to do. But now they could just create a digital version instead of having to create a set, instead of having to create some big production. They could just put goggles on people and do it that way.
Yeah, and there's two parts of this. There's creating content for that, right? There's video game applications. There's immersive worlds, you can do in your home. There's Disney Plus. You can watch Disney Plus right now on an Oculus and see it. You can create a new living room and set a fire and then kick your feet up, and it's this crazy thing. That's one thing. You play Vader Immortal, where you literally fight Darth Vader in the metaverse, right? It's pretty incredible. But then, like, Apple is already rumored to be releasing a new AR glasses, augmented reality. And if they do it right, the idea is that pretty soon you'll have this heads up, like a HUD, a heads up display where you literally have, like, things pop up and things appear that appeal only to you, right? And this is all metaverse related, and with innovation, with something like Disney and a company like Apple producing these things en masse, we know how Apple can just, if they make it, it's not just some gimmick thing anymore. It can actually take some traction and become part of your life. Then the game has changed of what can happen in a park, and it already has with your cell phone. I mean, with geo-tracking and all those other things. Genie Plus works off your cell phone. It's already a game changer, but we're just at the tip of the iceberg of what can happen with Web3 and NFTs, and I know we got other couple of things to talk about where they can improve digital ownership. I'm literally buying my NBA Top Shot packs right now because I'm up in line, but they have revolutionized what it means to be an NBA fan. They take random fans of teams who have bought items and they send them to games or exclusive, access to their clubs. Mark Cuban at the Dallas Mavericks, they can see, you're at this game tonight, you get this exclusive NFT drop of this play that Luka made, that only people that were there get, right? You can sell it. It's yours to own. You can do whatever you want with it. But if you own this stuff, we know who you are, and we can find you in a good way, and we can reward you for your fandom. This is like whole next level that Disney can take, and I like to see him say that because that means that they're thinking about this stuff.
I think that would be amazing because I think those are the type of things that, I mean, prices are always going to go up. They just do. But if you can do things like that, if you can offer special, hey, you're the only one that got this today because you did this. I mean, those things go a long way when you're in the park. And they know that, I mean, just one freebie here and there can make you forget that you just spent, $15 on a small dessert. I mean, it's amazing what the power of that customer service can do, and that's what they're really
Absolutely.
known for. I mean, they set the standard for so much of the world on customer service, all the way back in the 50s and the 60s. So I would love to see that. I hope that the Play Pavilion, which is a new at the old Wonders of Life Pavilion at Epcot. I mean, the Play Pavilion is something they didn't take it off the table. They announced it in 2019. It's still on the list of things coming when you go to the Epcot Preview Center there. So, but they haven't announced a date. But I hope it will have that kind of innovation, and that when you go play, it won't just be games that you've seen other places with Disney IP, but it will have like, oh my goodness, this is next level play experience.
You want the key, like you want, and I watch my kids, right? You want next level. You want to be immersed, number one. But number two, you want to have creative. You want to have some creative input. You want it customized to you, right? You want a feature that focuses on that you can create and change. Now, I don't necessarily care about that as much, but my kids do, right? They get bored so easy. We national championship games last night. They're just like, oh yeah, nice. But they were really fascinated by the idea that the game was on 6 different channels with different perspectives, right? The customization and different. They had like a Skycam, the 4K Skycam. They actually got really into that for a while, watching the Skycam fly over the play, and it looked completely different, and they just thought that was so cool. So and that's innovation, right? There's a Disney company, right? The ESPN pioneering this idea. We're going to take 6 different perspectives of the game. The consumer can choose which one they want to interact with, and I think this level of consumer and fan engagement is something that 2022 is going to be big on. But man, 5 years from now, who knows? But it does make me excited because, like you said, David, they add more value. They can add more value. And now this can be a couple of different things. They can now start charging you for more things, right? Or they can create a services business. Apple is great at this, right? They create an entire services business, and they give you things for free. And they actually start. What if one day, and this is crazy to think about, well, what if park admission was free?
I'd like that.
Because they made so much money. They made so much money on everything, right? On everything else. And I think that on services they offer in the park and whatever else. Now that probably will never happen. But the idea that could be a loss leader, that admission to the park is a loss leader for something else, when there's infinite possibilities for income potential and revenue potential with
I think
Web3
that sounds
and
incredibly
metaverse
innovative, but I think, like, for one example, the fact that they just took the bus service from the airport to the parks, which was free, away, that in most people's opinion, why it's so confusing is I saw a report recently said that maybe Disney was spending about $20 a person to get them from the airport. And so now, which those people are now going to pay for themselves, but what they lose in the process when you, I mean, yes,
There's intangibles,
like,
is what you're saying. It's perceived at
Right.
the end. It's perceived value, right? What do
you would
you're
think that
getting
they
versus
have
what you're paying?
enough money that it would be worth it to get me on that bus. One, so that I go stay at a hotel. Because now if I don't have that bus to the park, I may go, well, if I'm going to rent a car, I'm going to go to an off-property hotel now. Because it's cheaper and I've got a car, so I can do it. I mean, I can get back and forth to the park. So, I mean, there's just a lot of little things like that I think that's what's so confusing is you want to see that kind of forward thinking, and then it's like right now we're just getting a little bit more takeaway instead of the plussing. And that's a Disney word, plussing, that's been around since Walt Disney, where he was like, we're constantly plussing things. What you thought it was, now we're going to plus it and take it to the next. And we're not seeing plussing, we're seeing minusing. So,
Yeah, and I hope that everything you're describing is absolutely true, and I'm frustrated too. I have 4 kids, so anything time they increase price, it's like times 4 for me. But I hope it's due to economic transitions, just generally, and I hope that what we enter into with some of these other revenue possibilities is a new era of I hope they're just trying to get their stuff.
Here's one that
and
one other tiny little thing I don't understand. Like I saw, and this isn't Disney. This is the new company, Mears, that always provided the bus service. But in the new packaging system, a family of 4 round trip is $200 to and from the park. So $50 a person. But each person you add on is $55. Well, when does adding more? When is paying for more people make the price go up? Usually it's like, okay, for a family of 4, it's $50, but if you got another kid, that one will be $40. But in this case, it's the other. It's like, if you have more than 4, we're going to charge you extra. Like, that doesn't, but, that's not, to me, that's where it disrupts your immersive kingdom experience, because it doesn't feel, I mean, you're a dad or your mom, and you're the one paying, or grandpa and grandma, and you're trying to get all this together. The kids are going to have a great time, but you're thinking, okay, got to budget this out, got to think through this. So anyway, they'll figure it out. I'm still going to go. I'm still going to find a way. I told John David, it's like, I'm going to go.
No, you're right.
I'm going to go,
but
I honestly may go. I'm not going to stay at the park. I'm not going to stay in a hotel. We may eat a few less meals in the park. I'm just going to balance it out. I think that a lot of people will go. I'm still going to go, but I'm going to take the hit somewhere. I'm going to have to. You can't. You can't.
That's a good
just
point.
Keep
this could be risky.
Going unlimited. Most people can't do that. A lot of people. I'm sure some people can, and if they keep pricing it higher and higher and higher, then they're going to only get the people who can just spend anything. But for most people, even if they go for 1 or 2 times in their lifetime, they're going to have to figure out whether I'm going to pay for Genie Plus, or we're going to have some a meal at Be Our Guest. I mean, you're going to have to make those choices of what's most important to you financially.
Well, I have a great idea for a business for us to fund our Disney addictions. And that has to do with, we're going to make Winnie the Pooh NFTs.
Okay, you're starting a whole new conversation here, because I've heard about
let's
this.
Do it. Let's hop on the train.
So NFTs aside, the reason we can do that and not get sued by Disney is because, more news, Winnie the Pooh's trademark comes due this year, I believe, and goes into public domain. Be 95 years, which opens the character properties of Winnie the Pooh and Eeyore and all of that ecosystem right there up to the public. It's public domain, so it's fair game. Now, I do think that there's still any iterations in the past, like movies and things, that's not fair game. They still own the rights to those things. If things have been created since then.
And probably the original, maybe also the original illustrations. I'm not sure.
Original illustrations and stories and books. Yep, you're right.
So is it just the words?
By law.
So what can you do? Like, what can you do with the characters? Because if they still own the movies, they still own. Do they own the image of what Winnie the? Like, could I put Winnie the Pooh on a T-shirt when I do a?
I'm not sure you. I'm not sure you could put Disney's.
I think
version,
you could,
because that may be a different copyright from the '60s.
But I could put
for example, the original Grimm's Brothers fairy tales are public domain. Snow White is public domain, but Disney Snow White is not yet public domain. But it comes soon. It's unless they change the law, unless Disney convinces Congress to change the copyright laws, we're gonna Mickey Mouse. I mean, there's some
2024 Mickey Mouse and Mickey and Minnie are up.
Wow. No way. I can't imagine. Do you think there's a way Disney could lose that, though? I mean, is that really?
I don't think it's quite, when you say lose it, I think there's they're not going to lose it.
Yeah.
I think the original drawings, they're and I'm not a lawyer, a trademark lawyer by any means, but I think their original iterations of it.
Right. I mean, for example, the original movies, I guess, could be, like Steamboat Willie could be public domain, which means that they could play it on television. and not be charged for it. Hey, did you? In fact, here's a good example. You know the movie It's a Wonderful Life? Jimmy Stewart, classic Christmas movie. The reason that's so popular is it wasn't a big hit when it came out, and through the years they forgot someone did not for some reason renew the copyright. So in the like 70s, it was fair game for television, and they started playing it, and every channel played it at Christmas because it was free.
Wow.
And it just created this whole new audience for this movie that people fell in love with it because it's nostalgic and the acting's incredible. But it was an example of one they let slide. Now, again, I don't want to be the grumpy in the group again, but I just don't really see why things go into public domain like that. I mean, what other business do we just decide your art belongs to the public now? I mean, if you've got grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and you've created a book like Winnie the Pooh, and you want to leave that as a legacy for your family to figure out what to do with those profits, I think that's the family's opportunity. I don't understand how the government decides we're going to take that back and give that to the public. It doesn't belong to them. So...
Now, is it 100? Is it 100 years? 75 years? How long do you own that copyright?
Different.
When did the
different
start?
Things for example, a song is it used to be like life of the author of the song plus 75 years. So it gives. But say for example, if you wrote the song and you died at 30, I mean that affects your whole family. I mean, if you lived to 90, that's a different thing. But if you died young and created things, it limits the amount of time your family can reap the benefits of your legacy and what you want to pass down to, whether it's your family or to a school or to a university, wherever you want to give your property. I just think the author should have that right. It just shouldn't go. I mean, it sounds great. I mean, because it's like, hey, you don't have to pay for a Charles Dickens book if that's a school report. I mean, you're not having to pay a copyright. There's lots of free copies of it online now because that's all copywritten stuff that's gone into public domain. A lot of songs through the years are public domain now. So there's advantages but it's usually to the manufacturer. Like if you're a book manufacturer, you can produce a Charles Dickens book and you're not having to pay any royalties on that book. So it's just the cost of putting that book out. If you're an artist and you want to do a project of old hymns that have been public domain, you can do that, and you're not going to have to pay any royalties. So there's some, advantages on the manufacturing side. I just think as the creation side of things, it's not fair. And again, Disney, they're one of the biggest companies in the world, so to say something's not fair. But I just think a character like Mickey Mouse that you've created your whole business model around, I don't know why you would lose it. It'd be like if Coca-Cola, they said, sorry, you can't have that logo anymore. That logo's now public domain. Target, sorry, that can't be your logo anymore. You just lost it. You've had it 75 years. We're taking it away. It does. They're big. It's bigger than that. It's to me.
It's also, these laws were written before we had this digital media, they're kind of archaic, right?
Right.
The way we transmit media, whether it's songs or art or whatever, or creations, is so much different now than they could have imagined when they made those laws to begin with. And I think that's a part to consider, is our government is not very fast at getting on board with new technologies and changes. They've needed to update the copyright laws, trademark laws, and patent laws forever, right? And there's a lot of special interest involved in these things that they haven't updated for streaming, for music, right? They're still like, it's still built for another era that's gone and past and dead. And I think there's some of that too. Because I imagine some of the reason that they put a cap on it was because the administration of figuring out who owns what after 100 years, and have all these 37 or 120 great grandkids fighting over who owns the 1/20th of the 220th of the copyright of great grandpa's Star Spangled Banner or whatever, and the idea that art should that the people, there's an idea that that society gave the resources for people to flourish and create things, that ultimately that should go back to society. There's that's a little bit more, a philosophical argument than it is, but I do think there's a lot of, this is an interesting thought that Winnie the Pooh, this iconic character, and Eeyore and Tigger and all those are going to be, the copyright runs out. And what does that mean? I actually think it's going to be fascinating to see what it means and how this works and what's allowed and what isn't. But there are patents and trademarks on all sorts of things and different loopholes that companies use to keep that from happening. Pharmaceutical companies do stuff like this, little shady shenanigans all the time to keep patents from running out or keep generics from honing in on their profits.
I believe some of these things would have already been in public domain had Disney and some of the other companies like that already had lobbied to get it pushed back even further, because it probably should have happened even sooner. But we'll see. We'll see how it plays out.
Well, and this isn't catching them by surprise. There's a plan in place, and there's things. And honestly, the other thing to bring out too is Web3 NFTs. The whole idea of that is that you can now the invention of Web3 and NFTs are that you can prove digital ownership, right? It changes again, and I don't want to get too far down this in the weeds on this, but the idea that now you can via computers and a network, a secure network, prove who the original owner is, and you can, via smart contract by computers, divvy that out however you want to whoever you want to, in perpetuity forever. That's never been possible before. So I think actually some of these technologies and innovations will actually help. And the thing is we have to get our lawmakers and our creatives to kind of get on board and kind of figure out what the regulation on this stuff looks like, because their hands are tied in some degree. But to some degree, but well, it is fascinating. I think that will help.
I was going to add that these laws started from the beginning late. I mean they began, the copyright laws began because especially musicians and songwriters, because this is before movies and radio really existed. They were losing money because they would create these songs and people were they were compensating these writers, and so that's really where a lot of this started. And it's just it's a hard thing to keep up with. Just leave it at that.
Yeah, and there's a whole ton. I mean, with technology and things like that. I mean, crazy innovation, quick innovation. How much it's changed in the past 20 years is crazy. But the thing is, with innovation and technology, there has to be some innovation with our laws and like some innovation with like how we govern things like that. Because then you get in the whole issue of privacy and things like that. And like you look at like Apple and like social media and things in that nature, where it's like if it's going to keep growing and people are going to be more immersed in technology, there has to be laws that innovate with that and say we're going to protect the people, because that's what the jobs of laws are, kind of govern and protect people. So that's a whole crazy trail of craziness. But
it's probably why we have a brand new Mickey Mouse look, and they put the new attraction in the park is with Mickey's new look. I mean, they're probably just, we're going to change it and we're going to make it new and make it our something else we can keep going for a while. I doubt many people, in 2020 I did that year of Disney, and I watched everything Disney made from 1923 until 1943. That's how far I've gotten. I watched every one of those shorts. And so if those shorts go into public domain and it's just a short, most of the public won't ever go look at any of it anyway. It's not things that, besides Steamboat Willie, most of those Mickey cartoons, most people aren't ever going to even watch. So,
well, I could talk about all this stuff for a long time.
Yes.
We probably should go ahead and start to wind down. But before I do, I want to ask you both: we're 2022, just getting started off. What are you most excited about, 2022 Disney wise? What announcement is coming? Have you heard that is supposed to come, or you hope comes?
Okay.
That are you most excited about for the next year?
Okay.
I got it. So probably the thing I'm most excited for. Big Marvel guy, of course. When I think about things I'm excited for movie-wise, Doctor Strange, his new movie is going to be great. But as far as underrated or something that people are kind of talking about, but I'm really excited for, is this new Lightyear movie that's coming out. I wanted to see exactly. It's coming out June 17th. I'm pumped about it because this is the first time in a little while that I've been just really excited for an animated movie from Disney that I'm pumped about. I mean, we've had good movies like Onward, Soul, Encanto, and then some good Pixar movies. I loved Coco, but that was a while ago. Things like that, all that Disney animation. But I'm really excited for what Lightyear's going to be. I don't think they would make a movie specifically about Buzz Lightyear and get Chris Evans to play him if they just have like this is going to be an IP. We're going to get some people to come see this movie. We're going to make a good fat chunk of money. I think that there's probably going to be a cool story that they have for this character. And just seeing the animation and the precision and how clean he looks in all of the previews and pictures that I've seen, it just kind of confirms this like sense of, okay, they're trying to do something with this. That's probably my prediction of what I'm most going to be looking forward to and what's probably going to be done well from Disney will be Lightyear.
Of movies, that would be
David,
the one that I'm most looking forward to. There's several Disney Plus movies coming out this year. Some of the live-action remakes, they've not been my favorite, but there's a Pinocchio with Tom Hanks is going to play Geppetto. I'm interested to see what they do with it. But Buzz Lightyear and probably Doctor Strange would be the two that I'm most looking forward to. In the parks, I'm really looking forward to the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind coaster that's supposedly going to open this summer. I'm excited about the Tron Light Cycle, but it could be 2023. But we've been told Guardians of the Galaxy will open in the summer. I'm also excited. John David mentioned this in the last podcast, but there's a Fantasmic, which is the big nighttime spectacular at Disneyland and at Hollywood Studios in Florida. I'm excited to see that come back, and it's going to get some new life to it. They're going to add some new characters. They're adding the artwork looks like they're adding Moana, and they're adding Aladdin, and they're adding Frozen. They're probably taking out the Pocahontas section that was a big part of the show at Florida. They're going to revamp some of those things. So we saw the Fantasmic at Disneyland back in 2019, and they already had Aladdin, and they on the carpet, and they fly, and there's mist, so it makes it look like they're really flying in the air. So I think some of that's probably coming. So I'm excited for that. What about you?
Super cool. I am most excited about the Tron. Tron Ride. I do think it probably does release this year. I know that it would be, from a marketing standpoint, you wouldn't want to release that close to the Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Which I'm also excited about. But you want to space those out. Those are huge things, and you want to drag out the press and the marketing for one,
right.
Let it die down, then the other one takes you, right? And drives park traffic. So I think late 2022, they may even hold it into spring 2023. Who knows? Our prediction of maybe Little Mermaid does come out first. Maybe it's next summer, right? But it just seems to me if they've already started it and it's already delayed, they want to get it open and running.
Source that I watch quite a bit on YouTube, who always seems to have a lot of inside scoop and not just rumors, and he talks very confidently that we'll see it near the end of 2022. But I mean, we just got to keep our fingers crossed. I think that, I guess in the marketing, I've always tried to figure that out, is that if they announce that both are coming, that there would be one crowd that would say, well, I'm going to wait till they're both open. And so they wouldn't go in the summer because they think, well, I'll just wait and go at Christmas and then I'll get to do both of them. So I think it's very hard to. I would imagine on the lines and the queues and the way everything's done now, to have more than one thing going on at a time is more than that their employees can even handle. It just seems like it takes all their energy to get one thing off the ground. But maybe, yeah.
Totally.
No, I'm
All right,
done.
as we close. Go ahead. Oh, as we close, I wanted to give you guys one chance. Make a prediction of something that is Disney's going to announce or something that's going to happen this year. Make one big prediction that would come out of nowhere. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think they're going to announce? What's something that's going to blow us away?
Man.
Gosh. Do you have a prediction, Dustin? What do you think?
I mean, I kind of set it up to be really big, like big, you know.
Okay.
Like, I was thinking myself, I really think that the Disney dining plan comes back and there's actually going to be a connection made to address all of the things, not all of the things, a lot of the things David's been
I like
talking
that.
about the last few weeks, to create that value again. I think annual pass sales go back on sale, and they realize that you can't overdo it. There's still a pandemic, but they're going to put value back into the park. I really do believe that. That's my big prediction. I think by the end of the year, we're going to be surprised at some of the fan-friendly things they're doing for parks.
Okay, that's a good one. I would probably, if I made a prediction, again, it's hard to make predictions, and that's a good one because I would agree with that. Back to what we were talking earlier about, Metaverse and Oculus. I would say we will get a big statement from Disney about their first big step in the Metaverse, whether it's an experience or a game where you can feel like you're getting an experience from a Disney park from the Oculus glasses. Like, Disney's going to find a way to be in that market before the end of the year, and it's going to be big.
I think there will be a new goofy shaped
you got anything?
cupcake. Cat. I'm just kidding. I'll tell you one that I would like to see. I think I would like to see a shift, and just for a while, I kind of would like to see fewer big announcements. Like I would rather hear them talk for a while about innovation and storytelling, because I think, like, if we go back to 2019 and they announced, there's a Mary Poppins attraction coming, and even though there was a pandemic, and I just sometimes think, just start building it. Let us go, what's that going to be? What's that going to be? Like Universal did the Velocicoaster, and they built this great roller coaster that some people say is their favorite roller coaster ever. And the whole time they're building it, they're like, it's just a churro stand. It's just a churro stand, and everybody sees it's a roller coaster. I would like to see some of that, so that, again, don't promise things that might not come. Make sure you know what's going to come and when. So maybe that would be something we see a shift in, of a little bit more careful how we pump things up before we know for sure when they're coming. That would be a nice thing for 2022.
Awesome. I love it, man. We touched on a lot of things, man. Thank you guys for your time, and our listeners, we want to thank you guys for your time and sticking with us, man. And always, we are so grateful that you would spend a little bit of time with us to talk about Disney. That's why we love Disney. We would love to hear why you love Disney. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? What are your predictions or hopes for 2022? Let us know. You can find us at whyilovedisney.com, also on Instagram and Twitter. Also, please leave a 5-star review if you would be so inclined on whatever platform you listen to. We're on all of them, including YouTube now, where you can see our faces, for better or worse. But, man, thank you guys again for your time. Appreciate it. Always a blast.
See you guys.
And until next time, take care.
Alrighty, see y'all.